Direct News TV. March 7, 2024. Israel's war on Gaza live, Palestinians return to destroyed Khan Younis. Palestinians have returned to destroyed homes in Khan Younis as Israeli troops withdraw months after they invaded the city in southern Gaza. Israel's defense minister Yoav Gallant says Israeli troops who pulled out of Gaza on Sunday did so to prepare for future operations, including in the southern city of Rafah. UN's Guterres commemorates October 7 as Day of Pain for Israel and the world. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has recalled Hamas's October 7 attacks on Israel as a day of pain for Israel and the world. Nothing can justify the horror unleashed by Hamas on October 7. I once again utterly condemn the use of sexual violence, torture, injuring and kidnapping of civilians, the firing of rockets toward civilian targets and the use of human shields, Guterres said in remarks posted on X. And I call for the unconditional release of all the hostages still held by Hamas and other armed groups. Guterres made the remarks in a speech on Saturday to mark 6 months of war in Gaza, during which he also condemned Israel's collective punishment of Palestinians and expressed concern about its reported use of artificial intelligence to identify targets. Palestinian Authority condemns Israel's medical neglect in death of prisoner Walid Doxa. The Palestinian Authority's Ministry of Foreign Affairs has condemned Israeli authorities for the death of Palestinian novelist and activist Walid Doxa, 62, in an Israeli prison. The ministry said Israeli authorities' deliberate medical neglect of Palestinian prisoners was part of a broader policy of oppression and abuse and racist laws and legislation. Rights groups and supporters had been calling for Doxa, who was due to be released next year, to be allowed to return home on medical grounds after he was diagnosed with myelofibrosis, a rare form of bone marrow cancer. Doxa wrote several books, including a children's book, while imprisoned, after his 1986 arrest for killing an Israeli soldier. About 322 humanitarian trucks have been allowed to get into the Gaza Strip from both the Kerem Abu Salem, known as Kerem Shalom to Israelis, crossing and the Rafah crossing here in Rafah. These humanitarian convoys are loaded with water, sugar, flour, and all kinds of basic necessities that Palestinians very desperately need. But none of these humanitarian convoys has been given access to reach the northern part of the Gaza Strip, despite the Israeli military decision to reopen again the Erez crossing, Beit Hanun, and to guarantee further flow of humanitarian supplies to people in the north. Generally in times before the war, between 400 and up to 500 humanitarian trucks were reaching the Gaza Strip on a daily basis. This means these new deliveries are still incomparable to the massive needs of populations here, specifically those who are trapped in the northern parts of Gaza and facing high rates of malnutrition. U.S. Congressman hits back at criticism over his focus on Gaza. U.S. Congressman Jamal Bowman has hit back at criticism that he is neglecting issues in his district to focus on the war in Gaza. In an interview with MSNBC aired on Sunday, Bowman, who represents New York's 16th congressional district in the House of Representatives, said that every accusation is a confession. My district doesn't want bombs and weapons and billions to be sent to Israel to kill babies, Bowman said. My district wants to have money to be sent to our district so people can afford housing and child care and utilities, and have better paying jobs for food and to take a vacation. We want peace and we want investments in the American economy and in the American people, particularly those black, brown, marginalized and left behind. That's what my district wants. UK Labour's Lammy says far too many people have died in Gaza. The opposition spokesman for foreign affairs in the UK has expressed serious concerns about Israel's actions in Gaza, saying, "Far too many people have died." In an interview with Sky News on Sunday, Lammy said, "A life lost is a life lost whether that is a Muslim or a Jew. Far too many people have died, 33,000 now, many women, many children, and I think it is serious when we have senior judges who are on our Supreme Court who raise issues about the clear risk of breaches in international law," Lammy said. Former head of the MI6 Sir Alex Younger says the same and, of course, I've said that I have serious concerns about a breach in international humanitarian law in regard to this. Lamy, however, declined to back calls from London Mayor Sadiq Khan and others to immediately ban arms sales to Israel. Labour, which is likely to form the next government after a general election that must be held by January next year, has said it will support such a ban if legal advice provided to ministers indicates that continued sales could risk violating international law. Incoming Irish Prime Minister says Irish people repulsed by Netanyahu's actions. Ireland's incoming Prime Minister Simon Harris has delivered a clear message to Israel's Netanyahu, calling for a ceasefire and for aid to flow safely. Prime Minister Netanyahu, the Irish people could not be clearer. We are repulsed by your actions, Harris said in a speech at Gael Ardfhise University in Galway. Anyone who can countenance deliberate starvation has lost their humanity, Harris added, noting that famine is a spectre no Irish person can bear. Harris, the new leader of the governing Fine Gael party, will be Ireland's youngest Prime Minister after the recent unexpected resignation of Leo Varadkar. Israeli forces beat worshippers at Al-Aqsa Mosque, Wafa. Israeli forces raided the Bab al-Rama prayer hall in the Al-Aqsa Mosque in occupied East Jerusalem, beating worshippers and arresting 2 of them, the Wafa news agency is reporting, quoting witnesses. Tensions have been running high at the site as Israeli authorities have denied entry to the mosque to the vast majority of Palestinians living in the occupied West Bank during Ramadan. Search for survivors after Israeli airstrike in southern Lebanon. Local news outlets have posted videos, verified by Al Jazeera, showing rescue workers searching through the rubble for survivors after Israeli airstrikes hit the town of Sultaniya, in southern Lebanon. Hezbollah has traded fire with Israel across Lebanon's southern border since October. Israeli shelling has killed about 270 Hezbollah fighters and 50 civilians. In southern Lebanon, some 90,000 people have been displaced, while more than 96,000 Israelis have been forced to flee the northern border area. Progress towards agreement in Cairo truce talks, report. Progress has been made towards all parties agreeing on basic points at truce talks in Cairo, Egypt's Al Qahira news outlet is reporting, citing a senior Egyptian source. The report added that delegations from Hamas and Qatar have now left Cairo and will return within 2 days to agree on terms of a final agreement, while delegations from Israel and the US are expected to leave Cairo within hours. Consultations will continue over the next 2 days, the report added. Earlier, Israeli news outlet Haaretz reported that senior Israeli officials were participating in the talks in Cairo on Sunday, with a delegation from Hamas, the CIA Director William Burns and Qatar's Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman bin Jassim Al Thani also present. My name is Kingsley. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to be notified whenever we post. You won't regret it.